Welcome to Paraglidingtalk.com. This is Robert Michaels. I'm your host. So glad that you're here. The chat's already going off the tracks. We have a full house. Casey, is it Cadwell or am I saying that right?
Yeah, Cadwell.
Casey Cadwell's with us. I didn't want to, for some reason, I was wanting to say something else. Casey Cadwell is a local pilot for me, actually a kind of a neighbor of mine. He came strongly recommended from a couple different pilots. And so we got to talking the other day. I said, hey, man, would you be willing to come and join us on paraglidingtalk.com? And he said, yes. And I was like, let's do this. And so pretty excited about tonight's show. You're also joined. There's a new moderator in the midst of us. He wasn't going to be on tonight because he's having computer troubles, but he is known on YouTube as PPG. And wave to everyone. He's over there. He's trying to figure out what it takes to be a moderator. He's going through moderator boot camp right now. And so Calvin he's also in a bunker somewhere undisclosed. Larry from Pear Orange Products is with us. Sean is with us as well. Sean is also in a bunker somewhere. And then you guys all know Anthony. He's known as Paragringo on YouTube. And I really like that name, by the way. That's very fitting. He lives a few blocks from where the caravan's jumping the fence as we speak. And so
my Mexican wife gave me the name.
Your Mexican wife named you? That's awesome. I like Mexican food, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
If you guys don't know about the show, this is paraglidingtalk.com. I notice there's a few new timers or first timers. If you're a first timer, part of the show, make sure you say something in the chat right now. We're going to be doing some giveaway stuff tonight. I know I am. I think Pear Orange may be doing something too. We'll talk a little bit about some paragliding stuff. We're going to talk about some paramotoring stuff. And if you don't know about ParaOrangeProducts.com, I want to encourage you to go check that out. This show is sponsored by Pear Orange Products. And Larry is actually the guy who runs the show over there. Well, actually, the wife, which he calls the bag lady, Chris, she runs all the business, and he just has to, I guess, hold the money. Does she hold the money too?
She holds the money.
Yeah. So
believe me, she holds the money.
So you just get the abuse of all the customers forcing you to do stuff. So
right.
If you want to buy something, you want to put Larry to work, go to ParaOrangeProducts.com and buy something nice. He's got windsocks and all kinds of covers for your gear, and he's got stuffed sacks, and we'll give him a shot here at about the half-hour mark to do what he does for our show. And I really appreciate your support, by the way, Larry. Thank you for what you do.
It's all a pleasure.
I did want to say real quick before we get the ball rolling here is that we a lot of times we'll talk about motors, but we never really get into details about searching out an engine or finding out what's happening with motors. And I don't have my motor yet, but eventually I'll have one. And the way things are going with the show, I was very interested to talk to PPG, which is Calvin. Calvin has a background in motors, and he actually works on marine stuff. And so he's got a good head on his shoulders. And we had some conversation when we did a little pre-check. So if you have some questions about maybe just doing your own tune-ups on your carburetors or working on your two-stroke stuff, he's got a really good head on his shoulders for what's going on. So shoot those questions in the chat, and we will actually get back to you on those. Now, have mercy, Calvin's computer's down, so he's just using his phone. And anyways, without further delay, we have one of the recommended of the flying community. Actually, I think Jeff Goen mentioned that he's friends with Casey as well, and Casey's got some good background. We had a great conversation. He's actually on a flying adventure as we speak. He's down in Florida. And did you drive, Casey?
No, I flew out here
Okay.
on the 19th. Excuse me. Yeah, on the 12th. Yeah, maybe on the 19th.
So you shipped your gear over there?
You know, I'm not on a flying trip.
Oh, this whole time I thought you were on a flying trip. That's hilarious.
Well, I came
You're
out
like-
here to a trade show. I'm in the party rental business. I do two things. I train, and I also have a party rental company. And I came out here to do my annual trade show. It's a rather large trade show in the Orange County area of, I think it's called the Orange County Convention Center. I think that's what it is. Okay. And it's huge, like 1,000 exhibits. It's a lot of fun. But everything you can imagine that's fun that you see out in, just amusement type fun. That's what I do. And I buy and rent equipment. And I also came out to look at a paramotor, a guy that lives over in Land O'Lakes near Tampa. His name's Dan Provincenzo, I think. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Virus paramotor. Dan Provenzano, that's it. I looked at his paramotor today. I'm always trying to check out new equipment and find things that I would like to fly, like to sell. And I checked out this guy's equipment today, and it comes from Belarus. I'm not sure what country Belarus is in, but it's somewhere over there in Europe.
Belarus is Russia.
Russia, okay.
Yeah,
that's where this stuff's built. And it real nice looking equipment. I think you'll see more of it in the near future. So that's what I'm doing out here. Basically, trade show and checking out some equipment. And hopefully I'll get time to go to one of the parks, one of the theme parks for a day.
I was watching the chat. There's a guy it's 3 a.m. somewhere. This guy's in Bulgaria, and he's watching the show. 3 o'clock in the morning, Bulgaria.
Got some dedicated fans.
That's right, worldwide.
I mean, you're getting more out there now.
Yeah, well, I guess so. I woke that poor soul up. He was like, "Wait a second, YouTube just said there's a live stream." 3 a.m.
Maybe he can let us know what he does in over there in Belgrade.
Yeah, right.
Hey Casey, Dan's in the chat right now, so he's watching the show.
Oh, good. Yeah, I sent a link to him for the website. Yeah, good. Paraglidingtalk.com. But anyway, yeah, it's nice out here. Florida's great. I wish I was flying, but can't fly all the time, so I have to come out here and do some work.
Right. Got to pay for the paragliding somehow.
Exactly. I do do a lot of traveling with my paramotor. A lot in Mexico, Central America. I go with a guy named Jeff Hammond. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of Jeff. And we do some trips. Usually they're 10-day trips. I know we'll probably talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah, I've got that on my bucket of questions. By the way, what makes this show interesting is the fact that because we're live, you can ask questions live. And if you show up in the chat right now, you may not know this, but if you're in the chat, your name's getting written down. Every person is going to be given a ticket, and then there's going to be a raffle. I'm actually going to give away 2 things tonight. Nothing special, but I got these Paragliding Talk. Let me see if those come in clear. Paragliding Talk stickers. I got 2 of them. I'm going to give those away tonight. And so I'll give 2 different people those. And Larry, are we giving something away tonight? Is this the 3rd week or is it next week?
It's next week, but are we on next week? I don't think we're on next week.
Yeah, next week is Thanksgiving. And I am going to do a show, a special show. I'm not expecting anyone to join me, but we'll see where everybody's at, and I'm gonna let it rip. And
you kidding? Everybody's gonna be with their families. They're gonna be like,
I know. I'm
watching this show.
We're gonna find out how dedicated people are. They're gonna be like, oh, I gotta go. Gotta go talk about flying. They're gonna be going crazy anyways. Turkeys can't fly. You know what I mean? Can only eat the turkey.
Depends on how mad a turkey is, because I got attacked by turkeys as a kid.
So did I. We had turkeys growing up. Okay, the first topic tonight I want to talk about is safety, this is one of the most important aspects of what we do. Right, we are flying aircraft, however you want to look at it. Whether you're hang glider pilot. By the way, Casey's done some hang gliding and some powered hang gliding stuff, and so we'll touch on that just a little bit. He's been flying for a long time. We're talking decades now of understanding thermals and weather and all that. So there's all kinds of wisdom that we can take away from this show. So hang on here, and we're about to get some good stuff for our toolbox. Safety is the number one thing, and what I want to ask. My first question is, what is, in your opinion, the most important thing about safety, about our sport, and what has kept you safe all these years?
You know, there's different things that create danger in our sport. One is standing on the ground with your paramotor and starting it. I feel that's a very dangerous part of our sport. And then flying and putting yourself into situations that you shouldn't be in, bad judgment. An example would be flying over water without, some sort of a personal flight or personal flotation system. Flying at the dusk as the sun's going down near power lines, very dangerous. I've seen guys killed that. I've picked up fingers. I've seen guys' arms filleted, and it's a dangerous sport if you aren't careful. You have to be very vigilant, very careful with your equipment. Starting a paramotor, they say the safest way to start a paramotor is with an electric starter on your back, and that's probably true. It's the least likely chance of getting into that propeller with one of your fingers. It's very, very unlikely, very not possible. But when you stand there and you're pulling it doesn't matter if it's clutched or non-clutched engine, you're pull starting or electric starting an engine on the ground. If you're not prepared for 100 to 150 pounds of thrust coming at you, it's going to come at you and it's going to potentially take out, fingers, arms. I've even seen guys' face torn up with a propeller. So just be careful starting that engine. Make sure your instructor really spends time with you, standing over that engine, showing how to triangulate your legs, how to stand in the center of the thrust line, how to spread your legs far enough so that you're very stable on the ground. And then you want to check your throttle. You want to make sure that the linkage is there, that it goes all the way closed, all the way open. Do that a couple times. And not only do that, but hold your throttle up in the air and in different positions where that throttle might be a little more tightly wound or you know what I'm saying? There could be a pinch in the throttle only in a certain position. So on the ground, that's where the danger is. In flight, I would say water is very dangerous. It's going to kill people, power lines. And then everything comes in after that, mid-air collisions, flying into the lee of a mountain or a building or a tree, a small building. I've had a couple of bad accidents over the years. I started flying when I was 28 back in 1990. I want to say about 95, I started flying powered paragliders. I had been flying powered hang gliders prior to that. When you fly that much and you fly every week, you see a lot of stuff, and you teach people, you learn and see a lot of stuff as well. So just be careful starting your engine. Make sure you get good instruction. When I hear guys are self-teaching themselves, it's unbelievable to me that people do that, because there's so many things that can go wrong that they have no idea about, and they're going to learn the hard way. Just know that that's a very dangerous way to learn the sport. So, and then in flight, free flight is another. There's other things in free flight that have gotten me. you know, flying out on windy days and in places that you're not familiar with, you can think you're in the clear air, but you could get into a rotor when, you know, and drop like a rock. And that happened to me once in Mexico, flying by myself along the coastline. I dropped from like 25 feet straight down, and I had really good back protection, an APCO harness with airbag, and I deflected off a cliff, landed in a barrel cactus, but I walked away from it. So, you know your weather, fly conservatively, don't push your limits, get the local advice from the local pilots. I could go on and on if you want me to, but I'll stop there, and you guys can ask questions or talk about it.
No, that's incredible right there. That's exactly what I was after. All of those points are right on the money. I just watched a video. Did anybody catch that? The video of the guy he's launching from kind of a point of a rock, and he's flying with this really white single skin. He's going to do some free flight, and he gets yanked off the back kind of to the side, and then he's obviously in the rotor of that rock. Did anybody see that? It was on Facebook.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Oh man. So anyways, it steals your breath, because I've been in the place where, you know, you're launching and you don't have a whole lot of area to mess with, and you just it's got to be right. Your kiting better be on point. Well, anyways, you never realize how much influence the rotor side of the mountain has until you're in it. And this dude is all over the place, and it looks like he's probably giving too much input and causing some full stall action. But he just falls like a rock. You got to think the glider falls at 200 feet per minute, 250 feet per minute, right? And so you're flying in air that's pushing you up, and if you're just floating, you're launching, you've got some air coming up at 200 feet per minute. If there's no air, you're falling at 200 feet per minute. Well, if the air is pushing you down, add your 250 feet per minute down, and whatever that wind velocity is going, you're falling like a ton of bricks, and it looks really scary. I wish I could pull the video up and show you, but I'm afraid for that copyright garbage. But maybe I should try that, huh?
Hey, I got a video right here. Can I show a video on this?
Yeah.
Okay, it's on my phone. I'll just turn it on. But here's a guy that fires his engine up, and his throttle goes to full throttle as he's walking away from the car. Has anybody seen that video?
Yeah, that one's been on Facebook. That's bad.
It looks like his throttle got caught on his hitch carrier.
Yeah, here it is. I'll just turn it on right now. I don't know if you can see this, but oops.
Oh yeah, I saw that the other day. Yes.
Did he hit yet?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
try to play it again, but this time, as long as no one talks, it'll stay on your page. You got to talk us through it.
Okay. So can you see the screen though, you guys? I don't know if you can see that. Okay, so this guy, his throttle sticks. He's walking away from his car, and he does a face plant, and his prop blows up. Were you able to see that? No?
No, you have to tilt it down just a little bit, I think, because it's catching the reflection off the light.
Okay, I'll try it again. It's hard to do.
Yeah.
Like,
it's on Facebook.
Yeah, I got it through Messenger.
Okay.
Anyway, just an example of the stock throttle.
So he ended up going face down. I saw that he was on the ground. So what happened? The propeller blew off of it, like an E-prop.
His throttle went to full throttle as he's walking away, and he bent over, and it forced him into the ground, and it just blew up. The prop blew up. He lost control of his paramotor.
So the prop went sideways, ended up busting through the cage.
He didn't have the throttle in his hand when he stood up, and it hung in the rack on his carrier. and when he walked away, it went to full throttle. And I think from way it looked, is it probably kinked the throttle cable, and it just held it wide open, and he just face planted, and the prop blew up when it hit the ground.
Did he get hurt?
I don't know, but under it says Rio Bonito Free Flight Club. You might look that up on Facebook or YouTube. Rio Bonito Free Flight Club.
See if you can, one of the moderators, see if you can find that, Anthony or Sean. See if you can pull that up.
Sounds like a club I don't know if I want to fly with.
and Rio Bonito is one word, by the way.
Rio Bonito. So
go ahead.
My next question is accident assessment and talking about, so you've come across some of these where you've had to, like you said, pick up a finger or something that got lost. Talk about that and maybe some of the takeaways that you got from those, and how can those mistakes be avoided?
A good friend of mine, I'll just use the name Bob. I don't want to use his nickname, but some of you guys might know Bob. It was New Year's Day. Bob woke up tired, hungover, and I'm out flying in the desert. Bob pulls up in his car and says, "Hey, can I fly?" And I said, "Why don't you just use my equipment, Bob? It's all set up. It's ready to go." And this guy's a 30-year pilot, maybe 25-year paragliding pilot, 20-year motor pilot. And I felt really comfortable letting him use my equipment. I knew he was very qualified. But what I didn't think was he in the right state of mind to be able to fly. And it wasn't really apparent until he put the motor on his back and he ran forward. He lost a brake line, and he went to reach back to get his brake line, and you could hear a pop. And that was his thumb and his index finger. It just came right off. And it was out in the desert, so there's not much, grass or weeds or bushes. So I'm looking around for it. I see it, and I go pick it up, and I threw it in a bag, and we wrapped his hand up, in a blanket or, I don't know, napkins or something, and we got him off to the hospital, and he was helevaced out of there to the, Mercy General or whatever it was nearby in Yuma. So, why did that happen? Probably because he should have used judgment not to fly. He flew, hungover, and he just wasn't physically there. So if the point of the story is just make sure you're mentally there, you're physically there, because this sport requires a lot from you. You have to be 100%. That was that case. So.
That's where I heard it at, but I heard somebody telling a story similar to that. They didn't say anything about losing their fingers, but they were talking about being in that situation as far as not really mentally there to fly, because they were wore out. And I don't remember if I heard somebody telling the story about it on this show or if it was on another podcast. I don't recall. But
did he sew the fingers back on? That's what I want to know. No,
he now has they were able to save the thumb, but he lost his index finger and part of his fist. And he seems to be he gets by, he shakes his hand, it's kind of odd to shake the guy's hand. It's his right hand, but he's doing fine. So, Yeah. And if you're not near civilization, if you're 500 miles into Baja, that can become a very dangerous thing.
Yeah.
Even life-threatening.
No joke. Wow, that's interesting. So accident assessment is one of the things that we have to deal with. And it's what I like to think about is that if you do something stupid and you're in a situation like this, you screw up everyone with you.
Yes.
You'll talk to people every once in a while and they'll say, "Yeah, I won't fly with that guy." And the reason why they say that is not because they don't like the person, but they'll say, "Yeah, I'm not going to fly. I'll never fly with that guy," because that very reason. You plan a whole trip, you take time off of work, you're out in the middle of the boonies, you brought yourself some food, you got, you're going to camp, everything's all set up. Someone blows it, and then your whole trip's ruined. Like that situation. Now everybody has to land. Now you're grounded. Now you got to go across. We had a guy this summer, and incredible pilot, got caught in some kind of rotary weird stuff, took a collapse, overreacted just a hair, and went nose dive right into the side of El Capitan right there across from Blossom. The very worst place you could think of to where you would not, this is not the place to land. And he broke his arm, this part of his arm here, and bones are sticking out. He's bleeding everywhere, and he's stuck on the side of that cliff. Well, now a helicopter is going to come in. We all had to land because the helicopter is not going to come if you're in the air. And the whole game changed. That day was shot. And, you know, it's, I don't like to look at it like that, but this is a leisure sport. This is what we're doing. We're doing it for fun. We're not rescuing babies from an island surrounded by lava. We're just playing around for enjoyment. If you lose a finger, it's horrible.
Robert, you make a really good point there. How it can ruin other people's fun. I do a lot of trips into Mexico, and I bring my friends down, and I always tell them, I say, bring a buddy. You know, you need, if you have a problem, you need someone to take you out, because you can't count on me to do that. I'm the host of 20 pilots. And so, you know, people show up and by themselves, and I'm like, it bums me out, because if they do one thing wrong, it really can hurt the whole trip. And so, and another thing, you don't want to go on those trips if you're not confident and qualified to fly without problems. You know, a lot of guys think they are, but they show up and they bust their prop on their first launch. They jump into their seat. They do things that they shouldn't be doing, and you cringe because you're going, how did this guy get here with that level of skill? He should not be here. So as an organizer of events, I have to really pay attention to that, because it does ruin trips. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen occasionally. And that keeps me from doing more trips than I would like to do, because I fear that more than anything else.
Right. By the way, I didn't mention this in the beginning of the show, but Casey used to have a paragliding radio show back in the day. He ended up hosting that show towards the end. That was not that long ago, maybe 10 years ago, something like that.
I think we started it back in like 2002, 2003. It went for maybe 6-7 years. Yeah, it went a long time. Phil Russman was on there. Jeff Goen, a guy named Bob Armand. A lot of you guys probably have heard of Bob Armand. He was a very big player in the sport back in the 2000 to 2008 time frame. Who else was on there? Michael Purdy. He died recently of a heart attack. I was on there, and then we had a lot of good guests, just like what you're doing, Robert. We had fun guests to listen to, stories we learned. It was a very popular show, and I think we got most of our listeners not live, but through archives. I think that's where we really saw, people chiming in. So.
Super cool. Well, we're right about the halfway mark, and I do want to take some time real quick for the order of business. We've got our sponsor, paraorangeproducts.com. I want to encourage you to go check out their website. Also, I wanted to let everybody know that this show, I do this just because I love the sport, and I set up a Patreon. So if you can support the show on Patreon, that'd be awesome. What I always say is that for the price of like a cup of coffee a month, you can support this show and maybe learn something, or maybe you don't even watch the show every time, but maybe you know somebody that does. What you're supporting is people's safety and the future of the sport. We want to preserve sites. We want to preserve your safety and make it fun. And what I said before the show started is this is kind of like the hangout after the fly-in. That's the conversation that we're having. It's not super formal. It's not everything's all cut and dry and all written out. There's a place for that, I'm sure, eventually. But I really enjoy just having these conversations, because I've learned more in just a 1-hour show than sometimes reading a whole book. And I think it's really cool that you guys are willing to jump on and willing to support the show. So go to Patreon. There's also a group of guys that support the show on PayPal. And so with that, I do want to do a quick giveaway. I've got a sticker here. You got somebody that you can pull out of the hat real quick, Sean?
Yeah.
You've been writing all these names down?
You know what? I got all the names down, and I got started even a half hour early. That's dedication, guys.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. This
all right.
Paragliding Talk sticker.
Got the hat here. I'm not looking. We got Anthony D. Paragringo.
Anthony, are you serious?
Yeah.
That's Anthony, dude.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take it.
You got it, buddy.
Congratulations.
You win. He's actually getting a shirt too. That's amazing.
Thanks.
It's your lucky day, Anthony.
Congratulations.
And I've got another sticker we're going to give away as well, but we'll do that in a little bit. Larry, you got anything that you want to talk about, or want to just keep rolling?
Sure. Why don't we let me grab it for a little bit? And I did get the thumbs up from the bag lady, so we are going to give away.
Get out of here.
A riser bag.
Nice.
Okay, so we'll
all right.
When we get a chance throughout the show, we'll pick another name, but we're going to give that away. But Casey, you know, I want to say, Casey, I appreciate your discussion as far as safety. And one of the things I find is that, you know, we as parapilots, we love to fly. And if we could fly 24 hours a day, I think some of us would. And that often puts us in a situation that we shouldn't be. And I know this weekend, I found myself in the same situation. It was a few days we couldn't fly. Went out to the airport, got there was a fog, started to lift. Should we go up? Should we not go up? Should we go up? We went up. 300 feet, it was soup. I was watching everybody get sucked into the sky at about 250, 300 feet. What I did, I immediately landed. So I think sometimes we're our own worst enemy. We have to learn that if we shouldn't go up, if it's marginal, don't do it. Right. Especially getting up there in the soup and you can't see. And some of these folks carry strobes that unless you're sitting on top of their shoulders, you can't see them. We shouldn't be doing it. So if you come across that situation where you say, should I? Don't do it. Stay on the ground.
And Larry, good communication is really helpful. If those are your buddies going up, you should all have good communication on the ground and in the air, because you can have some sort of a organized. We've flown through holes in the clouds before on cross countries where we really need to fly, but we'll send one guy up and we'll wait 5 minutes to send the next guy up, and each guy knows he's got to go through that hole and get above the whiteout. And then fly inland to get, fly over the land. So when you're desperate to fly and you've got some goals to do, you need to talk it out, and you need to have a plan, and it needs to be coordinated among all the pilots. Very important, because when you don't communicate, you guys, that's when trouble happens. So, but it's best what you said, Larry, is just don't fly in those conditions.
So anyway, a couple of things I wanted to talk about, take care of some business. I'm going to show a few new products, and I promise you, for the folks that have been staying close to us and sending us emails and reaching out to us, these are the last two new products that we're going to present for 2018. The next product that we bring on the show will be something that we've gotten a lot of requests for, and that's the water repellent, waterproof bag for foot launch units. I don't fly a foot launch unit. I'm lucky enough to have mine in a trailer, but we are going to be bringing out shortly the cover that can go over the machines if you put them in the back of your pickup truck, on the back decks of your SUVs or pickup trucks. That will be waterproof. It'll be secure. We see so many people, especially down here in Florida in the summer, it just rains at the drop of a hat. So that's going to be the next item. So we're going to try something new tonight. I'm going to try to share my screen.
Do it.
And let's see if we could. Tell me, do you see that?
Hit present to everyone, and then it should.
Yeah, I lost my screen there. Hold on. Share. No good?
That's me.
Yeah, no, that's not what I want to share. I want to share this. Okay, photo. And and share. Okay, maybe it's not going to happen. Let's see. Photo. Come on.
It helps when you have a double screen too.
Yeah, let's see your entire screen. Windows application.
What's that, Anthony?
Just make sure it's a G-rated photo.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, no, it is. I got a line from that, but I'll get in trouble. For some reason, it's not letting me show my photograph here.
That's okay.
Anyway,
so you've got this.
So what we wanted to show tonight, I have one live here. One of the products that we had a lot of requests from instructors for were landing zone markers. And we have this week, if you go on our website, we have created an LZ marker that I tell you, it's great. I laid it out at the airport where I fly from, and I saw this from 200 feet with no problem. And, you know, back in the day when you were happy to land in the same zip code in the same field, well, these landing markers, like I said, we had a lot of requests for instructors, I guess, when they're training, especially foot launch. Even wheeled folks can use these. It's a great tool to really kind of hone your skills on your landings, on landing in the spot that you want to end up on. I know some people pick out a little spot on the turf, but when you know, as you get closer, it's really nice to be able to see something large. So the landing zones are on the website as of this morning, and they sell for $60. They are approximately 50 by 50. You just can't miss them. So since I can't show the photo, if you go on the website, you'll see that. The other thing that we added this week, we came out with an ultralight stuff bag. A lot of people know our stuff bags. They're designed out of very, very light fabric, so they can be taken up with you wherever you land. Whether it's a scheduled or unscheduled landing, you have a stuff bag with you. And if you know our bags, they're a big flat saucer, speed pack technology, really quick and easy. The new bag is the ultralight fabric. Believe it or not, it's the same weight as the other fabric we use, but it is a lighter material, very, very easy to fold up, crunch up, and put in your pouch underneath your seat or wherever you are on your foot launch. So those are on there now. They run 60 for a foot launch and 65 for a standard. And the difference is the sizes. We don't make those for the tandem wings, but we make them for really the smaller wings. So those are the two items that are up on the website as of today, actually. And just a reminder that we did start selling wings last week. We are now a MacPara dealer. We're having a special. If you order a wing, you get a free, besides the laundry bag that MacPara gives you, which is very hard to stuff, we give you a stuff bag, a windsock, and a choice between a knee board or a riser bag. And for our viewers, if you mention the show, when you talk to us, you get free shipping. So that's in effect right now for the month of probably going to be December as well as November. We are hours away, or I should say days away, from offering financing. The only thing that's holding it up, we're trying to do a special with 0% financing. So we're trying to get that finalized, and that'll be on the website very shortly. So trying to help make this reachable. You know, wings aren't cheap. Wings can cost a penny. So we're trying to make this reachable for everybody out there. So that's it for the year as far as new products go. There will be some other announcements, but not new products until we bring out the cover. And that's something we're working on. And you have to realize that's a little bit big because we have to tool up for that as well. Our present machines will not handle the fabric, or it's actually vinyl that we're using. So we're tooling up for that as well. So those are the two new items. I request or ask you to visit our website, take a look at the products. You'll see new product announcement. You'll see the wings. And, of course, you'll see that we sponsor the talk show. So visit our site, paraorangeproducts.com, And we appreciate it. We do appreciate the support we get from everyone. And believe me, Robert, we get emails from the viewers. I can guarantee you tomorrow morning I'll find 5 or 6 emails with questions and advice. And, you know, sometimes we can't be all things to all people. Some customers, we tell them this is not going to fulfill you. What you're looking for. We're honest. We'll make sure we give you the best that we can. If it's not right for you or what you're looking for, we'll be honest and tell you about it.
Yeah.
So
that's great news.
With that,
man.
we'll hand it back over to you, Robert.
That's great. I appreciate that, Larry, and it's nice to have the feedback, know that it's working. By the way, if you do want to sponsor, maybe you're selling, I don't know, whatever you sell, and you want to support the show, and you want us to do a promo for you, talk to me. Reach out to me. We'll make something happen. I'll put a little plug in there for you. Most of our shows we do stuff like that. So. Yeah, Casey's a teacher here in Southern California. So there's your plug for Casey. You can reach out to me through the chat, and I'll even post a link if he wants me to on his school, or how he can get a hold of him. And yeah, man, the chat is full of heavy hitters tonight. There's all kinds of people in there. If you've been watching. Okay, so I had a couple questions, and I want to address something real quick. David 65702, he made a statement. He said, now that the temperatures are cooling way down, shouldn't you be able to fly midday? And I want to just real quick nip that in the bud. There is just because it's cooler midday doesn't give you nice air. I watched a video of a guy get hammered, and he's flying over the snow. It's freezing weather. It's all about lapse rate, wind direction, wind velocity, and the weather plays a huge part. Do you want to add to that midday flying, Casey, and give some direction on that?
Sure. You know, a couple things that create the rough air, not necessarily always thermals. Wind shear will get you sometimes where it's real calm on the ground, but 200 feet up, you've got wind blowing at a faster pace, a faster speed over at a different direction. And when you meet that shear, you know, it gets rather violent sometimes. That can happen. I've seen that even happen in the morning. Happens on on the West Coast a lot on high pressure days when we've got an offshore flow at 1,500 feet and an onshore flow at sea level. But midday flying in the winter, you know, you still get the thermals. Once the ground heats up, you know, you're going to get rowdy air midday. In general, you know, it's less aggressive in the wintertime than it is in the summertime. The sun has a different route. The heat, the ground doesn't heat up as much, but it's still there. Be real careful about midday flying. You know, if the ground's warming up, you've got a good chance of having some turbulence. And if you start seeing dust devils, you definitely want to stay on the ground. Yeah,
no joke. I've seen some videos. Just Google paraglider meets dust devil, and it'll change your whole perspective of the sport.
Right.
Yikes. Yeah. I've seen a couple of them where they're on launch. Everybody's just kind of waiting for the day to die down, and a dust devil come through and just pluck a few people and fling them around like rag dolls. I mean, technically that's what they are. They're giant thermals, right? You got cold air going down, you got hot air going up, and anyways. Advice for the aspiring pilot.
For the guy that hasn't started, for the guy that's looking to get into flying motors
on the ground. Yep. Where does he start? Because we got a bunch of people that'll watch this and they've never been off the ground yet, and they're just searching for this info right here, and that's a big part of why I have this show.
Okay, I mentioned earlier, and I'm not saying this because I'm an instructor, but try to get professional instruction. There's a lot of good schools around here. There's USPPA, which is I work under USPPA. They've got really good curriculum, got a good syllabus. Most, if not all, the instructors, you know, we promise to teach off the syllabus. It gives you a lot of good information that you may not get out on the field. and there's other organizations that have their training. Find guys that have been flying more than a couple of years. Try to find some guys that have been flying with some experience that have seen a lot of different things, and you'll get a lot better information from those guys. They're not all great instructors, but the experience really helps. I mean, that makes a good instructor. When it comes to equipment, I hear from a lot of instructors that you got to buy from them. You got to buy new equipment. I believe you can buy good used equipment, but you need someone to help you with that. You can't do it on your own, or you should. I don't believe you should do it on your own, because so many times I've seen guys come to me with their own equipment. They say, yeah, I bought it on eBay, and they show up and the wing's 15 years old, but it's got 3 hours of use on it. Newer technologies bring so much safety to the sport. APCO's a great example of that. APCO's got a really good product. They have a stall recovery system that helps you in case you get deep in the brakes. It's built so that it will come out of a stall without pilot input, and that only comes with the newer technology. So, if you're going to get some used gear, try to make your wing as new as possible, or new, and if you need to get used to save some money, get a used paramotor, but just make sure it's sized properly for you. Make sure it, have the guy that's selling it to you fly it. Make sure it works. Last thing you want is an engine out at 30 seconds into flight, and then you don't have the opportunity to land into the wind because you can only do maybe 180-degree turn, and you land downwind. There's a lot of danger in having equipment that's not reliable. So do your due diligence. Talk to your instructor. Ask them if it's good equipment, or if it's good enough equipment. Sure, you want to save some money, but your life and your life is worth a lot more than saving a few bucks.
You're not buying a used set of golf clubs. You're buying an airplane. It's like we're out, and I'm guilty, man. I bought exactly what you said. I bought a wing that was like 14 years old, but it only had just a few hours on it, and it sat in a dry garage in Santa Barbara and was perfectly fine, in my opinion. But realistically, I had someone else, poor test dummy, I had someone else fly it before I did, and inspect it, and we didn't take out tape measures or anything like that. He kited it for a while, and then he took off and flew it, and he said, yeah, it's awesome, man. This thing's fine. Nothing wrong with it. And it was an ozone wing. But now, flying what I fly now is a 777, and I just could not imagine, the safety aspects now. They're incredibly designed where these guys have spent hours and hours dumping time into making every stitch important. 15 years ago, 20 years ago, not so much. Right.
You might want to pick up an older wing for kiting only. There's a purpose for older equipment. If you never get off the ground with it, you can learn from it. So, you can find a lot of equipment for $300-400. I'm talking about wings that you can beat up, but you don't fly. You beat them up, and then when you get your wing and you got your brand new wing, that's the wing you take care of, and you don't beat it up, and you've got your kiting down, or your kiting's a lot better because of that beater wing you bought. So I see guys do that once in a while. Buy some really cheap stuff. They come to me and I go, yeah, you could fly it, but it's so cheap. Let's just beat it up. I almost said the S word there, but I was told not to.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm glad it's like some sort of a $10 fee or something I got to pay if I said something. So
that's right.
I don't know much about that, but anyway, buy new gear if possible. If you can't, buy a new wing, used motor, and use common sense. Have someone else fly it. Have an experienced pilot evaluate it for you. Yeah. And that's my advice there.
If I can chime in on that, Robert. For me, when I was looking to get into the sport and flying, I studied. I watched a ton of YouTube videos for a year and a half, You know, thinking about training, thinking about equipment, looking at pricing, got an idea of what it's going to really overall what it's going to cost. Fortunately, I was trained by Casey here in San Diego. We did some kiting and so forth in San Diego, and then did some flying in Baja, which was fantastic. My thought was, for me personally, was I didn't want to take any chances on the wing, because I know that's to me that's the critical part that's going to keep me in the air. I don't know what the history of it is on a used one and so forth. So I wanted to, if I'm going to put my money, I'm going to put it on a new wing for me. But when it came to equipment, Casey helped me out. We found a couple of options, and you know, my biggest concern was, you know, I'm 240 pounds, so I wanted to make sure that you know, the thing had enough thrust that was strong enough and powerful enough to get me in the air. Fortunately, during our training, I was convinced that actually, you know, some of the equipment now is come a long way, and it's pretty powerful. I think I trained on Casey the 120. Which one was it?
It's a Cisco Motors Italian-made motor. It's called a Snap 120, and I sell that engine, even though it's a 120cc engine. I sell it to guys that are 240, 50 pounders, because it's a 50-pound unit on your back, and it puts out good thrust, and it doesn't seem to overheat. So, you know, another thing I like to tell the newbies out there is horsepower and the size of the engine and horsepower. You know, it's important, but you can do a lot with a smaller engine. And I think smaller engines are great for older guys because they are lighter. And you know, it's very nice to have a light engine on your back that gets the job done, rather than a big, powerful engine on your back that really you suffer with. So power is not a top priority. I think a lighter engine is a higher priority, as long as it can get the job done. So,
yeah.
There we go. I'm over here pressing buttons. There is a question, and I want to just take the last, we got 8 more minutes for the show. I want to open up for questions from the chat. I've got one that from Bob. And Bob asked, he was asking about how you choose the size of your wing based on the wind velocity. And the question, let me see if I can find it here. It was a little ways back. Where are you at, Bob? Bob the pilot. I'm Bob the pilot too, by the way. Hold on, let me see here. Oh, he said, Casey, is there a kg per square meter ratio to wind used to pick the wing for conditions, or just one you feel is average for manageable wind, saying 10 to 15 miles per hour?
I think what you're asking, Bob, is there a kg, meaning a kilogram weight, you know, or let's just say a pound or kilogram weight that you should be, you know, all gliders most gliders are certified. Not all of them are, and some that aren't certified are good wings. But in general, try to look for a certified wing, and try to fit yourself into the, you know, into the envelope or the weight window of that glider's certified placard. For example, you might find a 30-meter wing that is rated at 100 kg to 130. And what that means is the total weight of the pilot and the motor, the gas and the reserve, you want to be somewhere between 100 and 130 kg. Now, if you're flying in windy conditions, you know, if you're at sea level in windy conditions, you can fly a smaller wing. You can be heavier loaded on that wing. And that's that if you're flying in windy conditions often, it would be better to be heavy loaded on that wing or have a smaller wing. What I'm trying to say is a heavier loaded wing, you'll penetrate better. The last thing you want to do in 15 knot winds is get stuck in one position where you're not flying forward. You might even be flying backwards. So you want to favor being heavier wing loaded, and make sure you get motor risers on your glider, because and a speed bar, because you can accelerate that wing if you're standing still in a 15 knot wind. You're not going forward. I like to tell my students not to use that speed system until they really have to use it, because it's a reserve. It's reserved speed to get you out of trouble. Now, Bob, if you're flying at higher elevations and higher wind, you're going to have a bigger wing because the air is thinner. The guys at New Mexico fly big wings with big engines because they're flying at 6,000 to 7,000 feet. And you really can't get away with a smaller wing typically in higher altitudes. So if you're new in the sport and you're really confused on what I just said, ask somebody that has been flying for 5 or 10 years and try to get multiple answers to this question. But I guess to sum it up, you can be heavier wing loaded with either a smaller wing or being bigger under a certain size wing, and that'll help you penetrate better. But try to stay within the placard. Try not to fall too far over the placard. Like if it's a 100 or 130, try not to fly it at 150 kg. The wing can handle it, but the performance changes so much that it can become dangerous.
Yep. Very good. Well put. Yeah, because you have to factor in the weight aspect of it as well. A lot of guys will show up to Torrey on a windy day and they'll be like, "Oh, I'm going to pull out my 16 meter." And they run off the cliff and, and it looks fun. Everything's fine with that. But when you're talking about motoring, this is going to be something that it's going to be more than just, I'm going to pick the smaller wing because it's windier. Very good answer. Talk to an instructor, talk to somebody close to you, and choose wisely. So there was 2 other questions. Yeah. So I hope that helped Bob the pilot. Bob the pilot also commented, he said, ratio you use to match kilogram per square meter to the wind. And I don't think he has necessarily a ratio, but that was the answer. I thought I saw another question. We need to give away 2 more things. Are you ready, Sean?
I am.
We're going to give another sticker away, Paragliding Talk sticker.
I am ready.
Okay, pull one out.
I've been ready. I got everybody's name as soon as they started blah, blah, blah on the chat. I said, okay. All right, there's a name. There's a name. All right. I'm not looking.
He's looking.
Slow Days.
Slow Days.
There he is.
Dude, Slow Days has been watching the show from day 1. I'm almost positive.
Yeah, he's been around. Yeah.
He probably went to bed by now, probably, because I haven't seen him in the chat, but
if you fell asleep, we'll have to give it to somebody else, I guess.
No, we're gonna give it to Slow Days. Atheon too. He's been around since the get-go.
Yeah.
Slow Days, he's there.
Congratulations, Slow Days.
He was falling asleep, but he woke up. He was like, "Wait a second, somebody said my name."
Robert, you want to give away another one? We'll do a riser bag.
Let's do it. You need a riser bag in your life. By the way, if you won Slow Days, I'm going to need your address. You'll have to message me. Don't do it in the chat because you might get some spam.
We got a Jeff Fitzgerald.
Jeff Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
Jeff Fitzgerald? That rings a bell.
It was in the chatting.
Yeah. So. Fitzgerald. Yep, I see him. Boom.
Congratulations, Slow Days and Jeff Fitzgerald.
Okay, so Jeff Fitzgerald, you just won a riser bag from paraorangeproducts.com. Reach out to Larry at paraorangeproducts.com. That's paraorangeproducts.com. Larry, spelled Larry, at paraorangeproducts.com, and he will connect you with your winnings. And any other questions? We're at the 1 minute mark. I don't want to stretch out. By the way, tonight is my 16th anniversary. And we're going to do something special on Saturday night. But I've been married for 16 years. 16. So I got
congratulations.
Thank you. So I got to get off the show pretty quick. We'll have a short after show. But any other questions for Casey? If you're interested in getting a hold of him, by the way, reach out to me in the comments. I don't think I have a link to his school in the description, but I can make that happen. We'll talk about that afterwards. So if you're watching this show after it's already happened, just hit me up in the chat and I'll connect you with him. He's here in Southern California. Do you teach everywhere, or is it just here?
I teach in Southern California and in Mexico. I teach in Salton Sea in the wintertime. I also teach in San Diego, Mission Bay area. I teach in Baja. And occasionally I'll travel to see people and teach. I teach 2 to 3 students at a given time, sometimes one-on-one. My website is skytoy.com. I don't do this full time. This is a second business, if you want to call it that. But I really enjoy doing it. And it's not for the money, that's for sure. But money helps offset my sport, my hobby. And I really enjoy teaching guys.
Side job. That's a good side job, by the way. Flying.
Yeah. You know, when I learned to fly, I never forgot my feet coming off the ground, and I'll never forget that instructor that taught me to do that. And that really went a long way with me. A really good memory, a lifetime memory, and I like to see my students go through the same thing. So, right, Anthony?
That's right. I had such a great time, man. Right on the beach. I got a little spoiled on the beach in Baja, so it was beautiful air, perfect day, and yeah, right when my feet left the ground, all the frustrations or the fear went away, and it was just euphoria. So thanks a lot for that, Casey. It was awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I want to make that trip out there with you guys too. Anthony showed me a bunch of pictures. By the way, Anthony came over the other day to my work. We had lunch. We're in the same line of work, and he was showing me all the pictures of the flying site, and it looks amazing.
Yeah.
Coastal flying is really the best. You can fly all day long. I did tours down to a place called Colonet, a couple hours south of Ensenada, 4 hours south of the border. And I've done it for years, and everybody that goes comes back again and again, and we all have a great time down there. So if anybody wants to get away this winter, have them reach out to me, and I'm always throwing a little tour together. It doesn't really cost you anything. It's a very cheap, fun vacation.
It's awesome. Yeah, especially if you're in Southern California. Everybody in the chat, if you have not hit the thumbs up, go hit the thumbs up. I know you have to reach for the mouse and click on that. Do that. I don't even know what that does, but I like it. So do it. It just seems cool to me. It's like an acceptance thing. And then also, if you haven't subscribed, go do that. Hit the subscribe button, man. That's amazing. If you want to be a part of the show, maybe you want to help moderate or you want to support the show, something like that, hit me up. Go to paraglidingtalk.com. You can find out all the details of the past shows that have been happening. Oh, we have a special show, a big show. Episode 50 is going to be epic. Stay tuned. I'm not even going to tell you what it's about. Just stay tuned. Episode 50, guys. That is crazy.
Wow.
50 shows.
Awesome.
I'm still like, what in the world? Super
what
fun.
Episode is this?
This is episode 47?
Yep.
48? 47?
47.
47. Yep. Yeah. The next show that we have coming up is going to be the Thanksgiving show. Don't tell my wife. And then we're gonna have a show after that with Ethan. Ethan is a pilot here, local pilot. He's been hooked on free flight, but he also does a little instructing, and he's a paramotor guy. And so that show is going to be fun. He's coming up episode 49, and then episode 50 is going to be epic, fantastic. Thank you guys. Really appreciate everybody in the chat. You guys rock. And if I don't see you on the air, then I'll see you in the air. All right, guys. Talk to you soon. Have a great night. Casey, thanks again, man. I really appreciate you, brother.
Hey, I had fun. Thanks for having me on.
All right.